Well, it's about that time that Transatlantic puts out a live album to kind of showcase their studio release, and it probably would have come a lot earlier, but the boys weren't able to tour. So, yeah, now that things are starting to open back up again and touring is allowed to happen, we've got ourselves another Transatlantic tour DVD, CD, Blu-ray combo pack. So, yeah, let's dive into it. The Final Flight, live at l'Olympia from Transatlantic. So Transatlantic, I don't really think need an introduction. They're one of the most successful supergroups within the progressive rock genre. And I don't even want to caveat that with, of the modern era, because a lot of the supergroups from the classic side of prog, like UK, Asia, a lot of those didn't. I mean, they were successful in that they made a lot of money, but yeah. So after completing the big Goliath, the 1-2 punch that was the Absolute Universe with the Breath of Life abridged version, and Forevermore, the extended version, and the big Blu-ray version, we have the live album that they put out. And yeah, this is something that Transatlantic does every album cycle. At the very beginning, they had Live in America, their 2001 release coming out after Stimped. Then they had Live in Europe, which was From Bridge Across Forever. They had the Whirlwind Tour, as well as More Is Never Enough, which is basically the exact same set list. Then we also got, following up with, Kaleidoscope. Back in 2014, we got the Kaleidoscope. That, I don't know, for me, that's where I started to tap out in terms of the live recordings, because I still think that the World Tour, I think, is kind of like the definitive live releases from Transatlantic, especially with the World Tour with Daniel Gilden Lowe as the fifth Beatle, as they like to say, because they have somebody else coming in and helping them out with that one. And I don't know, Kaleidoscope was one that I wasn't all that excited about. I just felt like it was kind of spinning the wheels a little bit. I wasn't all that excited about it for that. But we're talking about The Final Flight, the live at l'Olympia, where they are touring in France. And yeah, the first, it's a 3-discer, so it's the usual kind of 3-hour big excursion that we have from Transatlantic. Yeah, clocking in at 2 hours and 50 minutes. Yeah. So the first 2 discs really are another reconstruction of the whole Absolute Universe. They definitely kind of take the route of the Ultimate Edition Blu-ray, where they kind of take bits and pieces from the 2 versions of the album and kind of play with it. Because that was one of the things that I really did enjoy about the Absolute Universe, was you had 2 versions of the album. You didn't necessarily have an extended one where they just added more things to it, and then an abridged one where you take things away. They really did go in and re-record different pieces. There were different lyrics, there were different passages. So it was 2 iterations of the same album. And now, I guess we have, as Mike Portnoy points out, a 4th album, because this one is a whole new interpretation of the Absolute Universe. And it was about halfway through the first disc when I started to realize that I'm not as big of a fan of the Absolute Universe as I once thought I was. It was a really interesting concept. It was a really interesting idea. But at the end of the day, I think it might be just a little too much, which is probably why my favorite iteration of the Absolute Universe is the Breath of Life, the abridged version. That's the one I go back to more often than not. I almost feel as if this project, the whole Absolute Universe, is how Bilbo felt after having the ring for so long. It feels like this.
I feel thin, sort of stretched, like butter scraped over too much bread.
And that is so exemplified here in the live setting, because Unlike The Whirlwind, which is an 80-minute piece of music that's really just one piece, it had a lot of touchstones. It had a lot of like callbacks. It had a lot of like bring it around and revitalization. This one still has it, but it does feel as though the boys are running out of steam. And it's a shame because like all four of these fellas, 5 if you include 10 lettered, are full of energy and full of gusto and full of creative prowess, but I do feel as though they wrote themselves into a very, very familiar box, and they're maybe a little too comfortable in it. First 2 discs are nothing but the absolute universe. Then you have the Whirlwind Suite at 34 minutes, so it's a little bit of a longer take off of the Whirlwind Suite that we got from the Kaleidoscope, because I think it was just under 30 minutes. Yeah, but I was shocked to see like Not Even Black as the Sky or Shine wasn't on here. All we have is We All Need Some Light, which is, you know, a really powerful and beautiful track, but it has been on almost every live album that they've had up until this point, so I don't really think we needed it. And the final medley being a conglomeration of All of the Above, Stranger in Your Soul, and Stranger in Your Mind's Devil in Your Soul. The more I listened to this album, the more I actually did enjoy it. You know, like this was a lot of prog, and it's a really, really big ask, and I really did enjoy the final medley, but again, it felt very similar to the big medley that we had as the final piece on Kaleidoscope. So, if this is the last live album that we get from Transatlantic, I think I'm going to be okay with that. You know, because I do feel as though we've kind of reached the bottom of the creative well within this band, unless they decide to really, really mix it up. But I can't really see Neil Morse, Mike Portnoy, Pete Travis, and Roland Stolt wanting to mix it up because of how well they play in this particular sandbox. So, yeah. This one for me is obviously one that I know a lot of people are already getting, so my opinion isn't necessarily going to sway anybody, but at least for me, this is what I'll say. The Final Flight, live at l'Olympia from Transatlantic, is one that I would ultimately stream. You know, I wouldn't completely shy away from it. I think this is one that I would go to and have a listen to, but I would honestly say just stick with that third CD to listen to, you know, the Whirlwind Suite, We All Need Some Light, and the final medley, because, you know, I think it does have Kaleidoscope on there, so there is a little bit from the Kaleidoscope era. You know, I think Into the Blue is on there as well as Kaleidoscope, because they do kind of rapid fire a number of moments from their past discography in the big medley. I know that this review is a little scatterbrained. I know it's a little all over the place, but at the end of the day, so is this live album. When it hits hard, but I don't know, I'll just return to the World Tour over and over and over again, because that one's still my favorite. So there you go. Those are my thoughts about the Final Flight live at l'Olympia. What did you guys think about this album? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Let me know all about that by commenting down below. But that's all I've got for you guys today on this one. That's all I've got. I think we've got a couple more live albums lined up. As I mentioned, I know Leprous has one that I'm going to be pretty excited about. And I'm sure Steve Hackett has one down the turnpike, so that'll be fun. But that's all I've got for you guys today. So thank you all so much for watching. As always, you guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.